If you've been watching the Hamilton real estate market coming into 2026, it makes complete sense. You'd look at the numbers right now and think it's a terrible time to sell. Prices are down, inventory's up, sales are down, and the headlines make it sound like everything's falling apart. And honestly, in some parts of the market, it kind of is. But if you're a family looking to sell your current home and move up into something bigger, this market might actually work in your favor. And I'm going to show you exactly why. I put together the full February Hamilton market breakdown with all the data. I also included our spring top dollar seller guide that explains exactly how to price and market your home in this kind of market. And if you want to know what your home's actually worth right now in the real world, not in the fantasy land of 2022, click the link in the description for your free home value report and the spring top dollar seller guide. Because here's what most market updates won't tell you. A shifting market like we're seeing right now actually changes the math for people who are buying and selling in the same market. And it changes it in a way that surprises a lot of people. So let's walk through the numbers and what they're actually telling us right now. As we walk into February, the benchmark price for the Hamilton Burlington market is sitting around $674,600. That's the benchmark price coming out of January. And compared to this time last year, it's down roughly 9% year over year. So yes, prices are down. And that matters because that's not just a small adjustment, that's tens of thousands of dollars in equity. That's real money. Now, the next part of the story is volume, because price is a lagging indicator. It tells you what happened yesterday. If you want to understand what might happen next, you have to look at sales and inventory. Hamilton saw about 285 sales last month. That's down roughly 18% compared to last year. So sales are down in a meaningful way. At the same time, new listings were around 368. That's only slightly down compared to last year. So we're not seeing a major collapse in supply, but we are seeing a major slowdown in demand. And when you've got less demand, but listings keep coming, inventory builds. That's exactly what's happening right now. Hamilton's sitting at around 1,600 active listings on the market. That's up roughly 14% year over year. So let's do the math. Sales are down, inventory's up. That creates more competition and it creates more leverage for buyers. That's why the market feels so different right now. In a hot market, you could be overpriced and still get away with it. In this market, you can't. Buyers have too many options. Now, the best way to understand what kind of market we're in is to look at months of inventory. Months of inventory answers one simple question. If no new listings came on the market today, how long would it take to sell everything that's currently listed? Hamilton's sitting at about 5.7 months of inventory. That's a big deal. Anything under 3 months is a seller's market. That's when you can list high and still get multiple offers. Anything over 5 or 6 months is a buyer's market. We're sitting at 5.7, so we're leaning heavily toward a buyer's market. And what that means in plain English is simple. Buyers have leverage. They can take their time. They can ask for inspections. They can ask for financing conditions. They can negotiate harder. They can ask for price reductions. And if you say no, they can walk away and buy the next house because there's plenty of homes to choose from. Now, I want to make one thing really clear. Hamilton's not one market. It's not good for everyone. It's not bad for everyone. It depends on what you're selling and what you're buying. Hamilton's a collection of smaller markets. Some are holding up, some are slowing down, some are getting crushed. So let's break it down by property type, because that's where the truth shows up. Detached homes in Hamilton are sitting around 4.2 months of inventory. That's still balanced. It's not amazing, but it's not a disaster. Detached homes are holding up better because families still want space, they still want backyards, they still want land. And in many parts of Hamilton, there's only so much detached inventory available. So if you own a detached home and it's priced correctly, it can still sell. You might not get 10 offers, but you can still get showings. You can still get serious buyers. You can still get a deal done. Now, townhomes are sitting closer to 5.6 months of inventory. Townhomes are in the middle. They're slower than detached. They're still sellable, but buyers are picky and you're competing against a lot of similar looking listings. That's where marketing starts to matter a lot more. Now let's talk about the condo market. Condo apartments are sitting around 7.4 months of inventory. 7.4, that's not balanced. That's a buyer's market. That's a market where listings sit longer, price cuts become normal, and sellers start chasing the market down. That's why so many condo owners feel stuck right now. Condos are where the most speculation happened. Condos are where the most investor activity happened. Condos are also where buyers are the most sensitive to interest rates and mortgage qualification. So if you own a condo and you're thinking of selling, you need to understand you're not in the same market as detached homeowners. Not even close. Now I want to shift the conversation to the part nobody's talking about. Because yes, the market's tougher. Yes, certain sellers are getting hit hard, but the market's always good for somebody. Not everybody, somebody. And right now, the people this market's good for are move-up buyers. Families selling a smaller home to buy a larger home. Families selling a townhouse to buy a detached home. Families selling a detached home to upgrade into a bigger detached home in a better area. Because here's the math. In a rising market, the home you want to buy rises faster than the home you're selling. And that makes moving up painful. You're constantly chasing a moving target, but in a shifting market, higher priced homes often drop more in actual dollar terms. And that can shrink the gap between your current home and your next home. So if you've been wanting to move up for years, this market could actually be an opportunity. Let me give you a simple example. If your current home dropped by $50,000, that feels painful. But if the home you want to buy dropped by $150,000, that's a much bigger advantage. You might feel like you lost money, but you're also buying at a discount. And for move-up families, the spread is what matters most. That's why some of the smartest buyers in Hamilton right now aren't panicking. They're positioning, they're watching inventory, they're waiting for the right opportunity, and they're negotiating hard. Now let's talk about what sellers are getting wrong right now. The biggest problem in Hamilton is in rates. It isn't the economy, it isn't even inventory, it's seller expectations. Because the market's shifted, but sellers haven't. There are still people pricing their home like it's 2021. They're pricing based on what their neighbor got 2 years ago. They're pricing based on what they need. They're pricing based on hope. But the market doesn't care what you need. The market doesn't care what you want. The market gives you what the market gives you. And in this market, if you're overpriced, you don't get a little less activity. You get no activity. No showings, no offers. Silence, then price cuts. Then lowball offers. Then frustration. And that's how sellers lose money, because the first 2 weeks on market is your best window. That's when your listing's fresh. That's when buyers are watching. That's when you get the most attention. If you miss that window, your listing becomes stale, and stale listings get punished. Now, the big question everyone's asking is what happens in spring? Spring's always the time of year when activity picks up. More buyers come out, more sellers list, and the market wakes up. So yes, we'll likely see more volume, but don't assume spring automatically means prices go up. Spring just means more activity. And there's another factor you need to consider. There's a lot of shadow inventory in Hamilton right now. There are homeowners waiting for March and April to list. There are investors waiting for spring to exit. There are sellers who've been sitting on the sidelines hoping the market rebounds. So as soon as spring hits, we could see a flood of new listings, and that extra supply will put pressure on prices. So if you're planning to sell this year, timing matters, strategy matters, and pricing matters more than ever, because this is a skill-based market now. 3 years ago, you could list a home with average photos and still get multiple offers. Those days are gone. Now real estate's competitive again. You need strong presentation, strong marketing, a pricing strategy that's based on reality, and solid negotiation skills, because buyers aren't throwing money at homes anymore. They're negotiating, they're cautious, and they're looking for value. So here's the takeaway. Is the market shifting in Hamilton? Yes. Is it harder for sellers? Yes. But it's not bad for everybody. If you're trying to sell a condo you bought at the peak, it's going to be tough. If you're an investor who needs top dollar, it's going to be tough. If you're a seller who thinks it's still 2022, it's going to be tough. But if you're a move-up buyer, if you're buying and selling in the same market, this could be one of the best opportunities you've had in years, because you've got choice, you've got leverage, and you don't have to fight 20 other buyers just to buy a home. So if you're thinking about selling this spring and you want to know what your home's actually worth in today's market, click the link in the description. You'll get your free home value report. You'll also get our spring top dollar seller guide. It breaks down exactly what's working right now in Hamilton, how to price properly, how to avoid sitting on the market, and how to get maximum value even in a shifting market. Because the market doesn't reward hope, it rewards strategy. And if you want a real plan, not a guess, click the link below and we'll get you the numbers.